Be honest. How many times have you been 20 not out and suddenly, instead of pushing on, you get out? It's not bad luck. It's not your technique. It's your comfort zone, and it's quietly killing your batting. Because if you don't learn how to break out of it, you'll keep living that same pattern, making starts but never going on. But once you do, your game changes. You stop surviving and you start building an innings. And I know that pattern all too well, because for years, that was me. I had the shots, I trained hard, but deep down, I saw myself only as a great fieldsman and a guy who could bat a bit. That was my comfort zone, and I lived there for years. Then something unexpected happened. Back when I worked at the bank, we went through a major merger, and as part of the change management training, I was introduced to this information about how the mind actually works. The conscious mind, subconscious mind, and the creative subconscious mind, and how your self-image quietly runs the show. That training just didn't change how I approached work, it changed how I played my cricket. Because once I understood that your performance can never rise consistently above your self-image, everything clicked. I stopped trying to fix my technique and started fixing the image I had of myself as a batsman. And the difference was huge. Suddenly I wasn't just hoping to get through the first few overs, I expected to. There's a big difference right there. I wasn't trying to survive, I was trying to build an innings, and that's when the runs came. Hi, I'm Damien Clark. I'm founder of the Century Club. I help cricketers around the world build the identity of a confident, consistent run scorer. So pressure becomes just a part of the game. This is through the videos here I do on YouTube, my player mentoring programs, and the video course I offer. I give you the tools I wish I had when I was stuck making 20s and 30s. So if you're new to the channel, stick around, because this is where your batting mindset really changes. When I was younger, my comfort zone in cricket wasn't as a batsman. It was being seen as a great fieldsman and just a guy, who could bat a bit. That was my label, and I accepted it because, who was I to challenge my belief? But something shifted in my life outside of cricket. As I mentioned before, I was working in the banking industry and we were going through a merger. Stress levels were sky high, people were uncertain about their future, and the pressure was real. So it was during that time that I was exposed to the information about how the mind actually works. Now, I mentioned before, conscious mind, subconscious mind, and the creative subconscious mind, and how they work to build your identity. I started applying those ideas to the way I handled the merger. So instead of just surviving, I began to grow through it. I changed the way I thought, and it completely changed the way I performed at work. But here's a light bulb moment. I took that same mindset back to my cricket, and suddenly I realized that being just a fielder who could bat a bit wasn't reality. It was just a belief. It was my comfort zone, and I had the power to step out of it. Then once I did, my batting changed. I stopped playing safe. I stopped settling for starts. I started building a new identity, not just as a guy who could bat a bit, but as a batsman who could contribute, who could dominate. That shift didn't just improve my cricket, it changed how I saw myself as a player and as a person. Here's the truth about comfort zones. Most players think they're about safety, but really, they're about stagnation. Picture your comfort zone like a shadow. Every time you step forward into something uncomfortable, the shadow stretches and grows with you. But every time you step back into safety, the shadow shrinks. And here's the kicker. Your creative subconscious mind is working overtime to keep you in that shadow. Its whole job is to protect your self-image and have you act as you believe yourself to be. If you believe you're a 20-run batsman, your creative subconscious will make decisions to keep you there, not because it's evil, but because it thinks it's keeping you safe. That's why you'll find yourself blocking balls you should hit or leaving balls you should hit, avoiding training drills that stretch you, or telling yourself, I'll just wait until next week to change things. That's comfort zone thinking, and it keeps you stuck. Let me give you a couple of examples. So firstly, in cricket, look at Marnus Labuschagne. When he first broke into the Australian side, he could have played it safe, just trying to fit in, but he didn't. Every innings, he stretched himself, whether it was leaving well outside of off stump or fighting through some tough spells, or playing with sheer intent. That's why his game expanded so quickly. Now, outside of cricket, think about learning to play the guitar. At first, it feels awkward. Your fingers don't move right and everything sounds a bit clunky. If you stick to only a few chords that feel comfortable to you, you'll never improve. But if you push yourself to learn one new chord, one new strumming pattern, it feels rough at first, but soon it becomes normal. That's the stretch zone. Now, the comfort zone trap is the same in cricket. If you only ever do what feels safe, you'll stay stuck at the same level. But if you stretch just a little beyond it, consistently, your comfort zone grows with you. So let's talk about how to actually escape the trap. The first step is awareness. Notice when you're avoiding shots, avoiding training drills, or when you've settled into survival mode. That's your red flag that you're in your comfort zone. Step 2, select your new stretch zone. This isn't about doing something crazy or unachievable. It's about one deliberate stretch. For example, it might be, today at training, I'll look to rotate the strike earlier, even in a match. Or in training, I'll face a bowler who rushes me. It's just beyond safe, but it's not fantasy either. Step 3, test and reflect. Once you've picked your stretch area, put it into action in a match or in a net session. Then reflect on it afterwards. Don't just ask, did I score runs? Ask, did I grow? Did I take one step beyond safety? And lastly, expand again. Every time you stretch, your shadow grows. Your comfort zone expands. Do it often enough, and what once felt uncomfortable becomes the new normal. And that's how belief is built. And this is the exact kind of work we go deep on inside my 6-week mentoring batting program. It's not about hype or empty motivation. It's about building belief step by step. So your comfort zone keeps expanding until you're playing with freedom and intent every innings. Or if you prefer to start small, head over to my website and grab a free copy of my ebook just to get you started. Links are in the description below. So here's today's takeaway. You're not meant to stay safe. You're meant to grow. And growth only happens outside of your comfort zone. If you don't step outside of your comfort zone, nothing changes. But remember how that mind works. Your creative subconscious is going to try and get you back to where you're comfortable. That's its job. It's challenging, I know, but it's also very, very achievable. Look, drop a comment below and tell me, where do you think your comfort zone is holding you back right now? And if you want to go deeper into how belief is built, not just stretched, watch my video on creating real change right here. In it, I show you how to make real changes that actually work, even when you think you can't. So until next time, bye for now.